Hello, I'm Dr. Eleanor, and today I want to talk to you about the full moon on May 31st, 2026. It's a rather important full moon, lots of cosmic energy happening nowadays, and a lot of pulls and pushes on us to react to so many things going on the earth and politically and personally that I figured it would be a good thing to go over it with you and give you some tips on what's going on, what to orient yourself to, and how to navigate this period of time. So I will be sharing my screen. This is what I call the mandala of synthesis. The charts that I'll be using are not just astrology charts. They're charts that also are charts of noble energy maps, which look at a period of 6 months surrounding the date that we are focusing on. This tells us what the precursors were to our consciousness and what we can expect up ahead so we can anticipate and plan how and where to put ourselves. So I usually like to start with showing you where the 6 month trajectory is. And in this case, we're going to be looking at a chart that puts the sun in Gemini because it's the early days of Gemini. May 31st is early Gemini. And that is the precursor to that was 3 months roughly before, which would have put the sun in Pisces, and it's gone through Aries, Taurus, and is now coming up to Gemini. And then in 3 months, it will be in gate 40. So you can see that there's half of a zodiac wheel that we've been through in the past 3 months and coming up to the next 3 months. And you can think back over the last 3 months, the energy, the way you've been feeling, your emotional state, and begin to center yourself and think about what you want to have happen over the next 3 months, especially from an emotional standpoint, and keep yourself in a non-reactive emotional state. The Earth has gone around the other half of the wheel. So I show you this because I do use a four-world model based on the Kabbalistic Tree of Life, which I'll show you in a minute. And what is especially important for this full moon is that the mental waking world and the physical biological world are the only two worlds that have a solar plexus, emotional center. And the emotional world is where we are physiologically triggered by past components that activated us and past traumas that are unconscious. So the task is to push the energy into the emotional angelic world where intuition and higher consciousness can take over for the reactions and move it to a spiritual place of understanding and alignment. I'm using the Tree of Life, and I work with this Tree of Life. Most people get stuck here in emotional reactions, but ultimately we want full consciousness and alignment in all four worlds. This is the actual noble energy map for the astrological full moon on May 31st. And I did it for Mount Pleasant, South Carolina, which is where I live. What you can see as you look just at the structure, and you don't need to know anything astrological or in terms of consciousness or anything else to look and see that every single chart here has the emotional center activated. And it is strongly activated. And at the same time, what you can see is that one, two, three, four of the charts have no sacral center. And most of them all of them have no splenic center. So what that immediately tells us is that over the next 6 months, people are going to be emotionally reactive. They will not always speak because sometimes it's an internal agitation. They may not know where to put themselves. They may be triggered emotionally. They may be having trouble with discipline and diet. They may be not knowing whether they want to be with people or be alone. They may be picking up energy from people around. Notice that the splenic center in so many of these designs, in all of them, is open. Now, when we move to the composite, again, we never get the splenic center. The splenic center in the Tree of Life, as in noble energy maps, is a center of intuition. It's the center where the soul knows what's right for it. And when emotional reactions take that over and want to fight, argue, make something happen, hold to beliefs, there can be emotional turmoil for you internally and for others with whom you're relating. Notice also that in the designs, in all of them, because it is in every single chart, you have the 17, which is Neptune, and you have the 62, which is Jupiter. Now, that channel between the ajna center and the throat is a portal to the spiritual world. So, looking at the spiritual chart, which puts it as a single definition manifesting generator that has both a channel 4253 and 52.9 activating between the mental world and the spiritual world, I would venture to say that the more time you spend over the next 2 to 3 weeks meditating, being internal, and getting in touch with what you'd like to have happen for yourself over the next 3 months, the more balanced, more in alignment, and easier time you're going to be having when you're being hit with a barrage of emotional activity and reactivity from people around you. It is a good time now to anchor yourself in what's right for you, what you know to be true to you, and what you want to have happen emotionally for yourself. When I look at the astrology chart for this full moon, what we see is a lot of activity that is on the quadrant of the wheel that is bringing forth unconsciousness into consciousness. And many of you are going to find that you would like to communicate what you know, and you would like to communicate your awareness. But a caveat to that is be certain that the people you're sharing with are receptive to receiving what you have to share. If you attempt to communicate and the other person is not really open, you're going to get hit with emotional reactions. Now, that's not so much in this chart, but when I look at the noble energy map and I look at what is going on with people from a standpoint of their energy configuration and the tree of life and where things are activating there, I can tell you that we are in a period of time where it is rather important that you spend time with yourself, that you look at some key configurations that I see in Noble Energy Map, which I would not see looking at a chart astrologically. What I see is that in composite, the day delineates as a single definition manifesting generator day. That means that over the next 3 months, you have a great opportunity to determine what you want your trajectory to be. This is good news. As of June 1st, the 15.5 comes in. And what that does is it gives you the sense of spiritual alignment with all living things. And why is that important? It's important because at this time, with everyone being emotional and a lot going on in the world, you want to make sure that you're bringing your consciousness to a higher level of awareness. the ajna to the throat, especially in the 1762, which is a portal to the spiritual world. So we have some configurations in the integrated chart. We have a configuration in the natal chart that is telling us that we know what we know, and that pretty quickly, by June 1st, you will know what's right for you. And the vulnerability that you'll have is picking up the energy and the angst of the people around you. So be careful in the language you use in interacting with others. Be mindful that over the next 3 months, from May 31st, June, July, August, you will be relating to many people who are emotionally triggered. Be wise. Use your intuition to recognize that when someone is emotionally reactive, they're hurting. Do not react to their reaction. Step back. Ask them, what would they like to have happen? Listen to them. Let them vent. Do not take it in. You will be emotionally, physically vulnerable because there is an undefined splenic center. So depending on your chart, in my case, for example, I have a very strongly defined splenic center. This will impact me less than someone who has an undefined splenic center or who has an undefined emotional center. Be aware that over the next 3 months, you're going to be living in a situation with many people who are going to be emotional. Are you? Or will you take that emotional energy, run it through your higher consciousness, and ask some key questions? Given this, what is right for me to do? And how can I do it in a way that will be conscious, be compassionate, and fulfill my mission in life? Now, the mission is to be a balanced emotional being, to be able to bring emotional clarity to those who are not emotionally clear. Now, in order to do that, you must use your intuition. You must use your splenic creative intelligence. It is beyond emotional intelligence. It is thinking outside the box. It's thinking spiritually. How can I help? How can I be of service? How can I make that person who's triggered feel more aligned, more in touch, and better about themselves? I hope to all of you that this analysis of the upcoming full moon is helpful for you, and that you recognize that it's a very important time, and that your consciousness, your self-control, your self-discipline is about inner alignment, not about what you do in the outside world. What you do in the outside world is a reflection of what you're doing on the inside. Make use of this time to gain clarity emotionally, to release what you do not need to engage with, and to take time with yourself to know if you're going in the right direction and find what you love doing so you can do what you love. On that note, I'll say goodnight.